Alright, Kingdom chapter 649 review chapter is called What Terms? And a phenomenal chapter, what a great chapter, I really liked it. Chapter starts off with us seeing Shin and the High Shin unit taking on the royal forces of Kantan and struggling to the extent that Shin is having to play a role of sort of a backup as well as doing his role as the leading commander. He's going around and taking on the top forces. He's all over the place. He's going around assisting other groups, other units in the High Shin unit. Um, we saw him backing up Gakurai, and he was going around, and he's been doing this for a while. It would seem, and he's not the only one having a very tough time. All the other generals and great generals are also having a tough time against the royal forces of Kantan. I think predominantly because of the sort of tidbits of information that Ribuku left behind, sort of a plan that he left behind. He was giving, when he was in prison, he was giving information and tactics and what have you, and not only that, it would seem that the royal forces of Kantan are not a joke. They're a very formidable army, and not just on average. I mean, as on average on soldiers, but also elite officers. They have incredibly formidable elite officers as well, because they're holding back the likes of Yotanwa and Kanki and Osen, because no one is really getting anything done, and everyone is having a tough time against the royal forces of Kantan, to the point where Shin just asks Ten to send a letter or something to ask for more men, because this is getting ridiculous. They're making no advancements and they're getting nowhere. And Ten points out the fact that they don't have any reserves to draw from, and basically all the other armies are also, well, they're not having a good time either. I mean, Chu is a massive threat. You can't really get men from that front. Wei is a threat, to the point where if they were to weaken their front there, they risk the chances of Wei launching an invasion, and that's not going to end well, because then they're going to have two open fronts, and there's no way they're going to have, because that's when it gets really dicey, when you have two fronts open. Han, she mentioned that they don't have many men on the Han front to begin with, so that's going to be a horrible idea to weaken that front further. She then goes on to point out that Shohei-kun probably has a plan, and we find out that he does. We then move on to where Shohei-kun and the royal court of Qin, where they're all basically shocked by a proposal that Shohei-kun proposes.
5 minutes later.
Alright, so completely ignoring that I'm in a different location and that it's nighttime, as I was saying, so Shohei-kun offers this proposal to the cabinet and the king, which is basically a proposal of an alliance with Wei, to which the cabinet brings up a very good point, which is, if on one side you're going around spreading this very aggressive narrative that you want to unify China, and in order to do that you will stomp through every state and destroy them and wreck them and join them into your territory and unify China that way. If that's one side, you can't have another side where you're allying yourself with one of your eventual victims, right? So that's a very good point that's brought up, and by the way, that point is completely shrugged under the bed by the king and Shohei-kun. They don't even mention, they don't even entertain that idea, which is, again, that's a very good point. Then that is sort of the one major flaw of having an alliance with any of the states. But regardless, Shohei-kun basically says it's imperative that we have this alliance to break the stalemate between Zhao and Qin. We then move over to Wei, and their capital, where their one of their fire dragons, Gohome, shows up, and he meets the king, where the prime minister of the state, Gekaku, and the head strategist Hari are also present, and they basically inform him about this proposal that Qin sent them 3 years ago. And that goes to show us that Shohei-kun is up there, along with Ribuku and others. And Ribuku is a great strategist, but Shohei-kun is no joke. The man, he anticipated 3 years ago that they would eventually, there could come a time where they would require an alliance with Wei, and that's again very good foresight of knowing what could that you could eventually need an alliance, and again that elevates our status, Shohei-kun's status in the series, and highlights how important he is to Qin. Gahome basically says, you know what, fuck you and your proposal to Qin. And Hari and the Prime Minister go, we agree, we would have the same reaction, but there's a very interesting clause that Qin has proposed to us. And boy, is it an interesting proposal, because a clause rather, because they're offering them Juko City. Now the problem with Juko City is, of course, that it's situated in Chu, but it is a city that borders or has a border with Qin, Chu, Wei, and Han. I believe also Han. And what an important geographic location that city has. And Qin basically proposed that we will help you take down the city to Wei in a sort of a joint operation if you are willing to help us in our struggle in Zhao. And if you ask me, that seems like a win-win situation for both the states, because they both get it's a very good offer for Wei as well. And I think in the next chapter they're going to agree to it, and we're going to have our alliance, because that's a delicious offer for any state to have, a city that important in such an important geographic location. And we then now an interesting thing would be if we see Mobu in action, and I really want to see Mobu in action, because he is one of my favorite characters, and he's been away from the story for so long. And from what we know so far, all he's been doing is holding back Chu. There's been no major clash that we know of on a large scale. It's not a large scale invasion of Chu. It's more of a holding them back type of a mission that Mobu has. Now it would be very interesting to see him and I'm forgetting his name, the big bulky dude from one of the fire dragons, the one that Shin fought. I want to see them allied. I want to see them standing together. First of all, I want to see how they look together. I want to know who's bigger, because they're two humongous human beings, and I want to see them both in action together, competing to kill the Chu, because no one's stopping those two if they ally themselves. Or it could be, instead of him, we could just have Gahome as the leading commander from Wei's side. But it's a very interesting proposal, and we could have two. I mean, I don't know how they're gonna do it. I'm guessing it could get off-screened, or we could sort of transition from our current arc to a sort of a mini arc or something where we see Mobu in action. But I'm really looking forward to it, and a very good chapter, very good setup sort of a chapter. I loved it. I love the whole Wei alliance thing, because I really like the fire dragons as well. And yeah, I think that's it. I think I've covered all the important parts, and yeah, very good chapter. Thank you for watching. Bye.